Well, the Varroa mite is considered the most serious threat to honeybees worldwide, and after spreading across parts of eastern Australia, it's now threatening to wipe out half of the ACT's beehives over the next 2 years. The spread of the tiny parasitic pest is forcing beekeepers to rethink how they manage hives and raising broader concerns about food production, pollination and biosecurity. Kit Prendergast is a bee scientist and ecological entomologist with the University of Southern Queensland, and she joins me now. Hi there, Kit. Thank you so much for your time. Firstly, could you just give us a bit of an idea of exactly what a Varroa mite is and why it is such a serious threat to bees?
It's a parasitic mite and it also transmits disease and viruses like deformed wing virus to Apis mellifera, the European honeybee. Thankfully for our endemic Australian native bees, it doesn't infect them, so that's good news. But for honeybees, which produce honey, as well as perform pollination services to most of our crops, which are also introduced plant species, it does cause a lot of concerns there because um, we're seeing lots of losses in honeybees, and also this means that feral populations will be declining as well, which means that beekeeper services who are better able to manage varroa mite with their managed hives will be more sought after. So that's, I guess, a bit of a silver lining that beekeepers who are able to keep varroa you know, under wraps, they're going to be in more demand, but it does mean that food prices of some crops might increase. A silver lining of varroa mite is that with the reduction in feral honeybee colonies, this might give our native pollinators a boost, which is really good news for them because they're the ones that are really at risk of extinction from other threatening processes like habitat loss, climate change, and even competition from feral honeybees.
Okay, so somewhat of a silver lining there, but I suppose that there have been warnings about Varroa mite for quite some time. Can you take us through sort of where it has spread at the moment and how quickly it does that?
Yeah, so it was first detected in 2022 and has spread from New South Wales up to Queensland, and we now see it in ACT and also in South Australia. It hasn't spread into Western Australia. That big desert is probably a good barrier there, but if it does get into Western Australia, that is going to be quite a concern because Western Australia has, a very important honeybee operation, very important honey supplies there. And so what we've seen is initially when varroa mite first contacts what we call naive populations, there is big losses. But what we can see is that overseas, where varroa mite has been there a lot longer, eventually it reaches a balance. So we are going to see at first some big losses, but as our bees adapt to varroa and as beekeepers hopefully check on their hives more regularly and are really good at monitoring. We have better biosecurity. This will help limit the spread of varroa, and we'll get into more of a situation with, living with varroa. And I guess the good thing about honeybees as a managed species is that, as we can see overseas, for example, in the US, when there's big losses, they can still split hives, move honeybees in from other areas. In Western Australia and other parts of Australia, there's good queen breeding operations, and we can even select for more hygienic behaviours and breed that into bees, which helps them better cope with varroa. So it is going to have some losses, and we have seen quite a big spread. The initial response from the government was try to eradicate varroa, and that sadly meant a lot of destroying beekeepers' hives, and it hasn't eliminated varroa. So now it's more of a strategy of living with varroa and making sure that we're on top of monitoring hives and addressing varroa as soon as it's detected in any hives.
Kit Prendergast, thank you so much for your time and insights this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.